Hey, what's up everybody? BDO 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, let's do the talking eating thing. And the reason why I say talking eating thing, if you follow me, is because I'm waiting on food, just like I was this morning. Same old same. You know how it goes. Working out real hard today though. My right arm is kind of hurting a little bit, but I think it's going to be alright. Either way. Yeah, man. Jalen Rose had a situation where his sister, and mind you, I want to send good energy to the Rose family. I'm not here to cast any bad energy or make any send any judgment in any direction. I only bring this up because I've had an experience that I think I can share with you guys. But just to give you a lay of the situation, his sister took a personal camera and turned on the footage of him walking through the house with someone who may be either someone who's looking to purchase the house or some type of agent, or I'm not certain, but whatever the case may be, you can see her filming Jalen Rose and the lady walking through the house, and she's telling Jalen not to go into her mother's house, and then she's illustrating to us that her mother had passed away a year ago, and that she's still living in the house, and Jalen's trying to sell the house while she's still living in it. And she's very adamant about that not being right. He was intent on embarrassing him in this way. Here's why I think it's okay for me to speak. It's because I've been in her situation. I've actually been there. I was asked to get out of the condo that I was living in a couple of weeks after my mother passed away. I was living there. I just got a new job. I had just gotten kicked out of my previous apartment, and some situations had all gone wrong at once. And with my mother's deteriorating health at the same time, it was just a lot going on. And, as soon as my mother, ultimately succumbed to cancer, we went through the process of burying her. And I went to Vegas for a weekend with some buddies to decompress, came home, and was told that I had a couple of weeks to move out of that place. And at that time, luckily enough, of course, I had the job, so my money situation would allow for me to purchase. I had the money, but what I didn't have was credit at the time, and what I didn't have was anywhere to go. So it got pretty bad for me. But what I can say is, because I've been in her position, I feel her, but I also understand why she doesn't have a right to behave that way. Now, I did have some pushback to my folks when we were having a discussion about it. I felt like I needed some time, maybe a year. I didn't have that, but I needed some time to get on my feet. But my track record wasn't good in that regard, and my family knew I had a lot in that I was working against mentally, that ultimately would make it so that I would not be reliable. My grandmother was getting old, and my grandfather as well, and they were thinking that they wanted to be done with Los Angeles. So selling that condo would take care of that, and they can go back home and not have to think about this place anymore. And so with me staying there, that prolonged the opportunity that they had to sell it and get that done. So grandma wasn't playing no games. She was intent on selling the place, and they had a buyer, and I needed to be out. So that was it. So I feel for Jalen's sister, right? But I also feel for Jalen Rose, because I understand the other side of it, which is why, yes, was I hurt by what my grandmother did? Yeah, but did I push back more or hold it against them or not talk to them after that? No, not at all. I was hurt deeply. In fact, that sent me into a very, very volatile place, to be honest with you, just having to go through all of that. But ultimately, I found this apartment. Everything worked out in my favor. Not lashing out didn't make things worse, I guess you can say. I could have very easily been horrible toward my grandparents and held myself without any responsibility to fix my own problems. And that's really what it's about. It was like, okay, well, if my life was in order, I wouldn't need to live here in the first place. So let's get to the root of the issue and get back to work. And I understand her mentality is, Jalen has the money. Well, my grandparents have the money, but that doesn't mean that they're responsible for me as a grown person. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, they've helped me a lot since, and probably will need to help me again, as I've been going through a lot as of late. And I can't even lie about that. But the reality is, there's no excuse, even for myself, um, to lean on others with the intent of being angry at them when it's time for that to stop. If my grandparents say no, they can't help me, that's just what it is. I don't have the right to get on here and tell you that they're the worst people in the world, because that's their money. And so that's really what it is. I understand where she's coming from, and to a point, I felt like that too. You know what I mean? But I would never disrespect, like that, especially when I know that I've been here this long. We have to take into account the time that you've already been there, and I wasn't necessarily, oblivious to the idea that I was given an okay to be there in the first place, right? Somebody had to say it's okay for you to be there. So that's what it was for me. I understand that Jalen's situation, his sister said she had been taking care of the mother, and that's why she was in the house. Well, I understand that the mother had passed. So now it's time to, heal and then get back to work. And I think that's what Jalen was, I guess, hoping would happen. She would kind of heal and get back to work. And that was one of those things where it's like my grandmother was probably thinking that I would probably not, having had that happen. She probably thought I would sit there for a long time after and try to heal and not, rely upon them to take care of me. And so pushing me out was also something that could help me, she thought. And even though I couldn't see that at the time, by sheer nature it did. I was able to get in this apartment by the grace of God, and then keep the job that I have, and continue to take care of myself there going forward. I don't know that I would have had all of that fall into place if I'd have stayed in that condo, and so on and so forth. And so I think about just understanding that some people in life are not going to have a humble mentality about that kind of stuff. Even though I've needed a lot of help, I don't think I'm entitled to said help. And I guess that would put me aside from certain people who may have that mentality about themselves. You know what I mean? They just simply are going to go through a lot of hard times if they don't find it in themselves to let go of who it is that's paying for whatever it is that they're paying for. Yeah, because they're letting go of you. So at some point in time, mentally, you got to say, all right, I can't resist this. They've already said no. Let me get on my feet. And so I'm pretty sure she's going to come to that reality, especially when she sees public opinion is not coming to her aid like she thought. I mean, this is just like, we were saying in regards to 50 Cent's son, Marquise. He's kind of running into that exact same thing, to where he's bringing his grievance to the table, thinking that public opinion would otherwise say, yeah, you're entitled. No, you're not, because none of us are getting those things. And while Marquise's point of view was, but I'm a 50 Cent son, so therefore I'm entitled to these things. And my dad, yes. And your dad, who has control over this thing, is telling you nah. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Your birth does not give you the inheritance. It's the people who choose to give it to you that ultimately have the determining factor whether or not you get it. And I think that's what ends up going left for a lot of people. You know what I mean? They think just because I'm related, it's going to be. Nah, they gotta want you to have that. They gotta see the fruit in giving it to you. And if there's someone who works hard in life and they have everything that they have because of the hard work that they've put in, 8 out of 10 times they're not gonna really appreciate someone who's gonna be sitting back there with a handout all life long while they're sitting back working to earn what it is they have. No. If you're going to be a good family member, then make me proud too and stand on your own feet. Then I can invest in you once I see that you are living for something other than living off me. So how are you being considerate to your loved one is what I would say to my old self. It was what I'd say to those two. How are you living up to what it is they want you to live up to, so that they can feel good about giving you their money, so they can feel good about handing to you what it is that they've built, which is an empire in some of these cases. A guy like Jalen Rose, he built everything he has, and he's still working. He still has a microphone, as she said, up to his mouth, even though he has the money to take care of you, him, and everybody else. So that should tell you what he respects. If he already got it and he up doing it, what is it to respect you who's laying down when you're not doing anything? So I understand not wanting to hand somebody something, because sometimes you spoil people too much. You give them everything and they have no ambition. They just end up killing themselves when you overindulge them with money. They string out on drugs. They get completely out of whack. They treat people crazy, get locked up. There's no discipline in their lives because they don't have to chase anything. So sometimes giving people a silver spoon, you lead them to an early grave. And a lot of people who are successful understand that. A lot of people who are unsuccessful don't. And so that's a lot of different angles that people just don't get, and it's a disconnect because a lot of times you can't explain those things to people who are not successful. You can't explain those things, taxes and things like that affect how much you can afford to give them and how important it is to sell a property at a certain time, and you can't just sit there forever because the price is going to change. I understand these things. That's why I wasn't going to resist my grandmother. All to say that I told them to hold on to the property because Inglewood's property value was going up. But I understand it. They didn't want to wait. They didn't want to hand it to me, and I respect that. Literally. And you have to. Because there are things that people have to understand about owning property. And if you're not going to take care of those things, then it's going to be that person's responsibility to keep them up while you're sitting there squatting. So no, that's a headache in and of itself. I'm sure he wanted to get that out of his life. He didn't need his mother's house no more. His mother had passed, and honestly, I'm pretty sure he was ready to let go of that house for other reasons as well, sentimentally. And you were keeping that in his life. You think about that? Probably not. Why? Because you wanted to sit there. And so that's what it really comes down to. You know, far be it for me to speak to stuff that I don't know. If that's not the situation, forgive me. But if that's the scenario, what it is, then it's fit for it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'm trying to teach a person the overall understanding of what it feels like to be on the other end of it when they don't understand. That's the purpose of my speaking. Because it did. It hurt just the same, but it wasn't my property. That was not my property. I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I didn't have plans to just up and pay them back for what it is I was ultimately going to be sitting there for, which was rent that needed to be paid. I had no plans to pay that. We didn't have no written information on me having my name on the lease, all these different things that have to be taken into account for someone who's going to be in the apartment. So, yeah. Did I feel hurt that my grandmother was kicking me out? Yes. Did I feel like she was wrong and all that? Yes. Were there other things I had to consider that I wasn't thinking about? Of course. And was she also too grieving my mom, her daughter-in-law? Yes. 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 If we're only thinking about ourselves and what's best for us, we're gonna embarrass ourselves when we expose ourselves as selfish people to the world. That's all it looked like. Ain't nobody gonna sit up there and say, 50, you need to get that boy his money. No. Because we see how hard 50 working when he already got it, bro. And we're inspired to work hard because we see how hard he's working. So why aren't you, his son? We see a lot of spoiled brats every day. Spoiled rich kids don't want to do nothing. We don't want to see no more of that. Work hard, bro. You got your whole daddy face. Work hard. And in Jalen Rose situation, that's different. I mean, obviously. I don't, you know. But in that situation, I tie it together because it's pretty much the same thing. Or so it appears. You know what I mean? And it hurts a little bit. You want to think that just because you related to somebody special and they can afford to take care of your life forever, that you can live and sit back and, I mean, because you struggle so hard, right? If they didn't make it, y'all be struggling together. So you would think because they got all the money, they just take care of you. But you got to understand, that's not how it works. That's just not, no. And if you were in that position, I don't know that you would want to take care of everybody either. You might want to take care of a couple people, but you can't take care of everybody. Got your own family to consider. How many kids you want to have? I don't know. They all got to go to college. They all got to be taken care of. So now I'm taking care of siblings, taking care of you, unknowns, health problems that have God knows how much that could cost. Inflation, God knows how. I mean, it goes on forever, y'all. And when you don't have a lot of money, you don't consider a lot of these things. So of course you're going to see as simple as you can or you can't. Nah, rich people life ain't that simple. They got a can't, run that by that person, this by that person. If it makes sense that way, then at this time gotta make. That disconnect needs to be understood by people who don't have, so that they don't look and say you should be doing when it ain't like that. So that's what I'm going to say, man. I hope I helped. Hope I helped y'all. I really do. My name is BDL44. I'll thank y'all for watching.